them out. Hopefully in the future, I'll have a better plan, but that's our plan for right now. So you'll also get a copy of the recording if you choose to rewatch this, okay? So without further ado, welcome, and let's talk about what we're making today. So today I decided not to go with meat-based products because those are more obviously low carb. Everybody knows that chicken is low carb. Everybody knows that steak is low carb. So what I tried to do was create 3 things that are typically higher carb, and then, how do we spin it so that it becomes a healthier, lower carb version, right? So I'm going to get started with our cauliflower spinach mash. So the inspiration for this is that we're using cauliflower instead of a potato for a typical potato mash. And then I added the spinach because when I was growing up, my mom would always put spinach in our mashed potatoes, and I really always enjoyed that, even as a child. And so today we're going to be doing a cauliflower spinach mash, which to this day has been the highest rated video on my Instagram, believe it or not. And it's so simple. It's something I make all the time. So I hope you guys enjoy it. It's really easy. Then we're going to start our no-fry eggplant parmesan. Now, this is a popular one during the holidays because I run into lots of folks who like to prepare some more like culturally relevant or heartier dishes around the holidays. So rather than frying your eggplant and adding more fat and calories and more carbs to your meal, I'm going to be preparing sort of my healthier version. And then our last thing for the day will be a breakfast, and that's our BLT Breakfast Egg Muffins. So bacon, lettuce, tomato, but we're using turkey bacon instead of regular bacon. And instead of lettuce, we're using spinach because lettuce and cooked eggs is a little weird. And then, of course, we are using tomatoes. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to be working on is so for my eggplant parm, this was something that I kind of created on a whim one day, and I had some leftover bell peppers and onions that I wanted to saute, and I decided to add it into this dish. So that's what we're going to start with now. So it's just 1 red bell pepper and 1 whole onion and a few garlic cloves. So and I hope that you can, there's a camera or a box on your carousel if you scroll where you'll see my cell phone, and then you'll see kind of the pan there. So hopefully you can get in, I guess, aerial view of me sauteing the onions and peppers. So this just takes about a tablespoon of olive oil, and you're going to go ahead and add in your chopped bell peppers. So I just chopped them fine, nothing fancy. And then you're going to add in a whole onion. Yes, a whole onion you're going to need for this. And then the other ingredient that I'd like to add to this is some chopped garlic, but let's let this cook for just a minute. And I'm going to add a little pinch of salt just to draw out some moisture. So as you know, salt does draw out moisture in things like vegetables, really anything you add it to. So we'll let that cook for just a minute. And then what we're going to do with our garlic is, I think in my recipe, I think it says 3 cloves of garlic. Garlic is one of those things that you can kind of just use based on what is your preference, right? I'm a big garlic lover, so anytime I see a recipe with like 3 or 4 cloves, I typically up it, but I think 3 or 4 is totally appropriate for this recipe. I don't really think you need to go much beyond that, okay? So we'll pop that in, and then just let that cook for a couple minutes. Now, you don't want these to get like crispy or burn. And since I'm using a hot plate, these don't get as hot as your oven stove would. So, just be mindful of that. Okay, so while that's going, we're going to get started with our cauliflower mash. Now, with our cauliflower, we want, I'm just using 1 whole head here, and we're going to cut this up. Now, the key to this is you really want to steam it and not boil it. The reason for that is if you boil it, it's going to get really mushy, and you're just going to be introducing a lot of water into this dish that is going to make it soggy rather than creamy. And we want it to have a more creamy type of feel. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cut our cauliflower into small pieces. And, you know, the smaller you get it, the faster it'll cook. So since we're going to be pureeing this or mashing this up, you know, we do want it kind of like in smaller pieces. So I'm using a steam basket that I'm going to be putting into a pot. Now, let's just say for argument's sake that you didn't have a steam basket and whatever, you didn't want to use them. I've also done this in the microwave. So you could pop this in the microwave. And I think in previous times, it's taken, I want to say like 10 minutes or so. Not even that sounds a little long. Maybe like 8 minutes or so. So it's the kind of thing that you have to keep checking on it until it gets, you know, soft. So what we're really looking for is this to become, you know, pretty soft and not mushy, right? Is I think the best way that I could say it. Okay. So let's just finish chopping this up. Alrighty, there we go. I think that's pretty good. All right. There we go. All right, so my water is already boiling, so we're gonna pop this on to our pot and let that do its thing. All right, and then once, you know, when the cauliflower is done, I mean, you just like basically assemble it. It's actually really easy. Okay, so there it goes. I'm going to put it on the pot. All right, so I'm going to set a timer for about 10 minutes, and hopefully that's enough time for it to go. Okay, great. So now we're going to go back to our eggplant parm. And we're going to assemble this and get it in the oven. So I have my oven preheated at 425 degrees. And while your onions and peppers are sort of cooking, what I like to do is I like to get my eggplant baked in the oven. So since we're not frying it, it is a good idea to pre-cook your eggplant because eggplant does have quite a bit of water. And so if you don't pre-cook it, it could get kind of like watery if you just decide to put your eggplant raw in the baking dish. So this is why I like to go ahead and pre-cook it. Now, I always line my baking sheets, sorry if it's making noise, with aluminum foil. I find that it protects them. It makes cleanup a whole lot easier, right? So you don't have to, you know, be scrubbing your pans. So just go ahead and line that with aluminum foil. And I always like to spray it with a little bit of cooking spray so that, you know, the eggplant doesn't stick. So for my recipe, I do use 2 large eggplants. Here, I'm just going to be cutting one just for demonstration purposes. So what we're looking for is a really thin slice here. So I don't know if you can kind of make that out, but, you know, pretty thin slice. And that way, again, not only does it cook faster, but it just yields a much nicer product when you put everything together. Okay, so give that a nice thin slice, just like that. And then on your on your baking sheet, you just want to go ahead and layer them. I do overlap mine a little bit, so that's okay. It's not a big deal if you overlap it. And then what we're going to do is these are going to bake in the oven at 425 for about 20 minutes. Okay. So just watch them. You don't want them to burn. You know, if they get a little crisp, that's okay, but we don't want them to kind of like be like dark or black, right? Because they're going to cook again in the oven when we assemble everything together. Okay. All right. So any questions so far? Anything that you'd like to share, what you're making for the holidays, why maybe you are interested in lower carb meals? You know, feel free to ask away or share if you'd like to. I personally created this because I don't, believe it or not, I don't really love fried food too much. In that, not that I don't like the way it tastes, it's more that it doesn't really agree with me too much. I don't know if you're like that. I don't have an iron stomach. I'm just not one of those people that can eat whatever they want and just go on about their daily business. I do have to be a little bit sometimes mindful around what I eat. Okay, so I do see a comment coming in. All right, so here we have our eggplant. Now we're gonna add just a little bit of salt to the top. Not too much, just like that. You could do one of two things here. You could go ahead and drizzle with olive oil, or if you want to use a cooking spray to cut back on calories and fat, if you like, if that's your agenda, then you could certainly do that as well. Either way is totally fine. Okay, so this is going to go in the oven, like I said, for about 20 minutes, and I'm going to have a look at okay. And now, where is, oh, here it is. Aha. This is where we're going to be putting our eggplant. So this is just, a standard, like, baking dish that is oven safe. Of course, you want to just use something that's oven safe. Okay. So can you boil the eggplant instead of baking it? Okay. And should you peel it? I personally don't peel my eggplant. There is nutrients and fiber in the skin, but just always, like, anytime you use any vegetable or fruit, you always want to make sure that you're washing that very well. Now, if you're someone who just simply does not like the peel, by all means, you can absolutely peel it. 100%. You can definitely do that. I personally have never boiled eggplant. So I don't know how that would turn out, to be honest with you. I'm a little bit concerned that it might get a little watery, but maybe what I would do is trial like a small piece of it, trial it at home, see how it turns out, what the texture is, and see if you can use it. Okay. I actually would be interested in seeing how that turns out. Can you bake it? Another question, without the skin. So yeah, you could definitely take the skin off. I'm interested in low carb meals because I'm diabetic. Okay. I'm not doing more than 40 per meal. Okay, great. Can you substitute zucchini? Yes. And not boil, broil. Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Oh, yes, now I see it. Sorry. It's hard to see from here. Yes, you could definitely broil it. Just watch it so that it doesn't burn. You just want it to kind of cook through, or, get, if it gets a little crisp, that's okay. Great. Thank you for correcting me on that. And then, yes, zucchini. So zucchini has a bit higher water content than eggplant. So, just be kind of mindful of that. It's totally okay though. You can absolutely substitute a zucchini for this recipe without a doubt. I might be more inclined to leave the skin off. I wonder on a zucchini. I've not made it with zucchini, just for that moisture factor. I wonder, I don't know. We have to, let's investigate that. If someone has made it before with zucchini, I'd be interested in learning about that. And I was able to lose 12 pounds just by changing to lower carb, low sugar. Now congrats. Oh, that's excellent. Good. That's wonderful. That's really great news. Good. Yeah. So what are the nutrition information? We're going to actually build our eggplant now. So for one serving of the eggplant parm, and that's 1/6 of the recipe, which 1/6 of this is actually quite a bit. It's only 23 grams of carbohydrate. So that's fantastic. And of course, naturally, some carbohydrate is found in veggies, and they are good for us because they're high in fiber. This recipe also has 7 grams of fiber per serving, which is amazing. Okay. All right. So let's build our eggplant. So of course, I already went ahead and bake this ahead of time. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here staring at each other for a while. So as you can see, they're cooked through. They have a little bit of brown on them because, they're cooked. And that's kind of what you're looking for. So what I like to do is I like to use a no sugar marinara sauce. You can certainly make or prepare your own marinara if that's what you're inclined to do. This one is a marinara sauce from a local company in Brooklyn called Michael's. And what I love about this brand is that the ingredients are, the ingredients are tomatoes, garlic, basil, olive oil, and some spices. That's it. That's what marinara sauce should be, right? We shouldn't have sugar in there. We shouldn't have all this other stuff. I'm going to turn this down because this is done. We should really be having, you know, a really simple and clean product. So what I like to do is I like to add a little bit of sauce to the bottom of my pan. And then we're going to go ahead and in with our eggplant, and we're just going to start layering it. Okay. I am going to be adding in a little bit of ricotta cheese, which we're going to get to in a second. So I'm going to show you this in a second. Let me just get this in here. You know, I've made this with my kids before, and it's so like user friendly that they love, you know, layering the eggplant. This is like such an easy dish. Once you have like all your stuff prepared, you're really just assembling it. This is make ahead friendly. I've made this ahead lots of times. I'll actually put it right under here so you guys can see. Okay. And I've made this lots of times, put it in the refrigerator, had it, you know, a night later. And it makes great leftovers. You know, and just a side note, I am actually not Italian. I am Spanish and Portuguese, but my husband is Italian. And this is husband approved, you know, on my, I guess, Italian side. So I think it is a pretty good dish from that perspective. Okay. All right. So do a little bit of that. And then your layering is kind of up to you. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and add in my cheeses. Let me just grab them in the fridge. Okay. So here I'm using a part skim mozzarella cheese. You could certainly use a full fat if you prefer. But this is what I'm going to be going in for. We didn't see it. Oh no, we lost connection. Are you guys back? How much protein per serving? Oh, we're good. Okay, we're good. Because I didn't see anybody freeze. Okay, so we're adding in a little bit of cheese, and I'll put this under the camera again so that you could see it. All right, so there we go. You guys good? Okay, and then I'll just put it up here. Hopefully it doesn't fall. Okay, so then someone asked on the protein. So the protein for this one was 16 grams. So good source of protein as well. So this is a really nice dish. This is probably one of my favorites. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're just using about 1 cup of ricotta cheese. And the ricotta cheese I'm using, again, is a part skim. You could use a full fat. You're certainly welcome to do that. Just remember that, you know, the nutritionals do become altered a little bit, not significantly. You know, but just, you know, just keep that in the back of your mind. I love ricotta cheese. I'm a big ricotta cheese fan, mainly because it's so creamy. Yesterday I made, for one of my Food Town videos, about 1 cup, that's good, a angel food cake with a whipped ricotta and berry topping. And it was, I mean, it was so good. Even my kids ate it. So ricotta is something that can be both savory and sweet, which is really nice. So I'm just adding a little bit of salt and pepper just to, of course, season it. You could even add like a little bit of like Italian seasoning in here, which, you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm going to do, because I think that that would be a nice touch. A little bit of basil in there. Okay. And give that a mix. All right, so we're going to go in with this after our next layer. So now we're going to continue with our eggplant. And after this layer, we have to do what? We got to check on our cauliflower, right? And see how that's going. All right. So here we go. And I have another tray of this behind me. So I think two big eggplants really seals the deal with this. You could also make a smaller one, right? Which is 1 eggplant. That works too. So let me just switch these out. Whoop. All right. Here we go. Kind of sticking together. All right. Now, again, with our sauce. Now this jar is 32 ounces. just to give you like a little bit of a reference on how much you'll need. And we're most likely, if not definitely, going to be using all of it. So just be mindful of that. There we go. Okay. Now, this is where I like to, right in the middle. So we're basically halfway through. This is where I like to add my ricotta, and then I'm going to add my onions and peppers on top. Now, hopefully you like onions and peppers. Obviously, you would need to like them in order to not skip this step. But I'm telling you, it makes all the difference. It adds a really nice sweetness that I think is really enjoyable in this dish. So if you can help it, don't skip the onions and peppers, okay? All right, so we're gonna smooth out our ricotta cheese on top. And this gives it a little bit of a creaminess, right? Without it being super overwhelming. So this dish was never meant to be like a cheese bomb either. So it was meant to be more veggie forward, which is why I don't think I use a ton of cheese in here, but enough so that we get the benefit of the protein, right? All right, so we've got our ricotta cheese in the middle. Now we're gonna go in with our veggies, right? Our onions and peppers are in here. So we're just gonna add one layer and just all the way around. There was one day, and I'll just use this as a little sidebar conversation. I was making this and my kids were like all over me. I really wasn't focused and I just forgot to add it in. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I'm done with all my eggplant layers. I've totally forgot about the onions and peppers, but I had already made them. So I just topped it. I just put it right on top and it worked out fine. In fact, visually, it looked nicer because it created this really nice, like, I don't know, kind of like topping look. And it looked really pretty and it really made no difference at all. So honestly, it doesn't matter where you put it, but ideally put it in the middle. I think it kind of holds together a little bit nicer that way. Okay. So that's that little conversation. Okay. So then from here, we're going to go back with our eggplant. Okay. Ooh, it's like all sticking together. Well, we'll just put it on top. There we go. So now we're going to put our eggplant here. I promise we're almost done with this step. And we'll do a little bit of this. Actually, this layer got a little bit crisp, but that's okay. All right, let's check on our cauliflower. Oh, that looks good. Okay, so that was about 10 minutes. So the eggplant, the cauliflower was on for about 10 minutes. So just you can use that as a little frame of reference there. And so what I'm going to do is just pull it out so that it doesn't continue to cook. And I'm just going to put it right over here. And then we'll address that right after. Okay. All right. So our eggplant. So now we're down to the final layer. So here, oh, sorry, I forgot the cheese. So let's do a little bit more cheese. A little bit of a sprinkle there. Not too much. I think that's good. All right. We'll do a little bit of tomato sauce. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting lazy, right? I'm just trying to make sure that we have enough time for everything. There we go. Good. Just kind of spread it out. That's the beauty of these one dish meals, right? I mean, as long as everything's kind of put together, once it cooks, all of the flavors meld together. They get married together. So then it's okay. All right. And that's it. So let's do our final. Since I have some extra eggplant here, I want to make sure that I use all of it. No eggplant left behind. Right. I'm very much a no waste kind of household. I like to make sure I utilize all my ingredients to its full potential. There we go. Perfect. Now we can finish up with all of our sauce. I'm just going to make sure that I get an even layer here. There we go. Perfect. See, yeah, we ended up using the whole jar. So that was a 32-ounce jar of tomato sauce. And then what we're gonna do here at the end is finish up with a little bit of cheese. And I'm also gonna add a little bit of Parmesan cheese for some bite, because Parmesan cheese has that, it's known as the umami flavor. And it adds a really nice earthiness. They say is the Parmesan flavor. All right, so we'll do a little bit more cheese on top because we want it to look nice and melted. That's good. And then just a little bit of Parmesan. I'm using the shredded, or sorry, the grated Parmesan. It's brand new. Oh, not dirty. That's nice. It's dirty. There we go. And not too much. This kind of tends to burn, so I don't like to use too much. Just like a little sprinkle on top. Okay. So there we have it. Now we have to cover this with aluminum foil. We're going to bake this for 25 minutes. And the reason why we want to cover it is because we don't want the cheese to burn before it's even done. Little tip, spray your aluminum foil and the cheese won't stick to the top. So if you've ever made like a lasagna or another baked dish that has cheese on top, if you don't spray the top, it will stick to the aluminum foil. But if you spray it, you avoid that problem. So I'm just going to pop this in. All right, and our other eggplant is already done, so that's perfect. All right. There we go. Perfect. Now I can make another one. Okay. All right, cool. So our eggplant is cooking. Now we are going to start on our little egg muffins. We have time, just looking at our time. And this is going to be a really fun make-ahead breakfast for you. I make these on occasions when, you know what, I just need something quick to eat. You know, we want to kind of pull something right out of the fridge. Maybe you leave the house for breakfast and you need something kind of quick and easy. Then these are really going to be ideal. So what we have here, and I'm going to bring everything. Actually, we don't need to. Well, I guess I'll keep that there. So what we have is I'm using the Eggland's Best eggs. You can use any eggs that you enjoy. We need a bowl, of course. I'm going to be using some spinach I have here. Now for this recipe, we're using turkey bacon. I'm going to actually show you what I used. So I used the Butterball turkey bacon. You can use a lower sodium version if you're watching your sodium. This is just the original. There are other brands also like Applegate Farms that has a uncured version if you prefer something a little bit more natural, okay? And then we're also going to be adding some grape tomatoes, salt and pepper, and a little bit of basil. Now, my supermarket didn't have fresh basil, which is not uncommon for this time of year. So I said, okay, no problem. I'll go ahead and use the dried basil. Not a big deal. So our oven is already warm, so we're gonna just pop this into a 350-degree oven. This oven is like I said, is already preheated, so you know we don't need to do anything there. I'm using a 12 muffin tin, like what you would make cupcakes for, muffins. And you do really want to spray this, or if you're not into sprays, you can use like a little bit of olive oil, just put it like on paper towel, and then you can wipe, you know, each little muffin cup with that. I wouldn't use paper muffin like covers for this, because it'll, the egg will just make it like very soggy. So that's my tip for that. So what's easy about this recipe is everything just goes right into one bowl. It's so simple. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pop in our eggs. Now we are using a whole dozen eggs. So because we're making 12 of these, you can almost kind of assess, oh, okay, there's probably around one egg in each of these muffin cups. Now, because we're using other ingredients, it probably ends up being like a little bit like over one egg, just because the ingredients are kind of gonna bulk up. Okay. So let's get all these in here. I don't know if I've ever cracked eggs so quickly before, right? We're trying to like do things in the interest of time. So there we go. You could also substitute egg whites if you're not into whole eggs, or you could do half and half. If you had to measure out egg whites, it would be about, I want to say, did I write it down for you guys? I think it's like 1.5 cups of egg whites, if you wanted to substitute it. All right. Down to the last one. There we go. Okay, cool. So that's all taken care of. Now I like to beat these, you want to beat your eggs first. That way, come over here. You want to beat your eggs first. That way your other ingredients don't get like all mushy. There we go. That's good. Okay. Now for your turkey bacon, we're going to chop this up nice and fine here. Let me just grab, here's my towel. Okay. So just grab all your turkey bacon and you're just going to give this a nice little chop, just like that. And if you stack them all together, you'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone and have this process go a little bit faster for you. Now I used right around like 6 ounces, 8 ounces or so of turkey bacon. You can, add more, you can add less if you prefer. But I think this is kind of like the sweet spot for this, not overwhelming, right? And then just run your knife through it again, just to give it a nice chop. So as you can see, all set there. Okay, so put that in. Now your turkey bacon is going to be a little bit, it's going to give it some, some saltiness and savoriness. So I personally don't think it needs a ton of salt, but I would add a little bit more salt to this. So I'm just going to add like just around a half a tablespoon to 1 teaspoon, like a half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon is more than enough. You don't need much more. And then of course I am going to be adding a little bit of black pepper here. All right. If you've been to other classes in the past, you might have remembered me saying that I'm not a big like black pepper fan, which I'm not. But for something like eggs, I feel like it is a nice addition. Now for our basil, since this is a dried herb, we don't need as much as if we were using a fresh herb. So I'm just going to go in with 1/4 teaspoon. And you can adjust that based on, your flavor preference. If you want more, if you want less. Okay. So we've got that going. Put that under our camera there. All right. So now we're just left with our spinach and our grape tomatoes. Now with the spinach, this is already pre-washed, so I'm not going to go ahead and wash it. If you feel like you need to, you prefer to wash it. I know my mom she hates when I do this. She's like, no, you should wash it again. And she's right. I should. But we're not going to do that today because, we're crunched for time, right? Okay. So we'll put this in. All right. So now we have our spinach. So just about a handful or a cup of spinach is perfect. I like turkey bacon on occasion. Okay, good. Oh, hey, Angela. So good to see you. Can I substitute turkey or chicken sausage? Yeah, for sure. It's funny. I was going to make that comment like, oh, you could sub like a chicken sausage or something else. So yeah, don't be afraid if you want to sub out the turkey bacon for another product. Yeah, that's totally appropriate and okay. All right, now for the final ingredient, now that we have, I like to save the tomatoes for last because I don't like them to get like mushy in there. So all we're going to do here is you just want to cut them in half. If you leave them whole, they'll burst, which is fine. You could totally leave them whole, but I feel like they sit in the pan better if we cut them in half, okay? So with the tomatoes, if you get like some bigger grape tomatoes, then I quarter them. But a lot of the smaller ones, just right in half is totally fine. And we really only need about a cup because we don't want this, we don't want these to get super soggy. We want them to kind of hold, okay? I'm gonna add just a couple more in here. And I think that's plenty. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. On 1 second, I got to clean up my mess here. I don't need this anymore. Okay. All right, so I'm going to come under the camera so that you guys can see that. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, this could be like a giant omelet, really. But I find that people enjoy the muffin cups because they're easy to take out of the refrigerator. They're already portion controlled, which is really great. So that's, what kind of makes it easy and fun. Okay. So just go ahead and pour them into your muffin cups, just like that. All right. And I feel like there's one comment there that I have to look at. So hang on before I move forward. Sorry. Please also use front camera. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, sure. No problem. Can't change it. Okay. Please use a front camera. Okay. Will do. So with, I don't know if I don't want to like spill it, but I don't know if you can kind of see. I mean, it's just like, your typical, like, if you were making like an omelet, like egg batter. Okay. But thank you for that feedback. I really appreciate it. Okay. So now we're just going to go ahead and fill these up. And while these are baking, we are going to finally get to our mashed cauliflower. This one's a little bit too over full. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right. And down to the last two. All right, perfect. And, just like when you're making cupcakes or, you're making, this one I overfill. There's always one that like you overfill. I'm just going to move that over. This one was a little bit under. And there's a little bit more right in there. Perfect. Okay, you guys. So here we go. So here are our little egg muffins. So I'm going to pop these in the oven. Like I said, these take a little bit longer, like 20-25 minutes. So we'll see how long how much we can get out of them while we're still in class here. Okay. All right. Perfect. So those are there. Now, our cauliflower. So we're going to clean up just a little bit so that we can get you a nice view here. So with our cauliflower, you do want a baking dish. So a dish where you have oven safe capabilities. So this is like one of those baking dishes that can go into the oven. So I'm going to be using this. I do like to spray my pan or grease it in some way. And this is so that the cauliflower doesn't stick to the side. So we'll set that aside. Okay. Now, with our cauliflower, what did I do with my bowl? That's all right. I'll just grab another one. So with our cauliflower, we're going to be using a hand blender. If you don't have one of these, you can easily put it in a food processor, or you could do it the old-fashioned way with with a mashed potato masher. Any one of those ways works. So don't be upset if you don't happen to have one of these. I got it actually as a gift when I got married, and that's probably the only reason why I have it. All right, so here's our cauliflower. So just to kind of give you a little idea of how soft it is, if you press it with your fingers, it just falls apart. Okay, so we're going to pop that into a bowl. So right in there. All right, so let's have a look here. So with this, we're going to be using the baby spinach we're going to add in here. We're using a little bit of cream cheese. As I was getting prepped for today, I said to myself, oh, duh, you could totally use the ricotta cheese for this instead of the cream cheese. So if you're not a cream cheese fan, you don't have cream cheese, whatever the reason, you can totally substitute the ricotta cheese. Now it's only a tablespoon, so it's really not a lot. But I have tried it with and without it. And I do find that just the 1 tablespoon of cream cheese adds a little bit of a nice, like creaminess to it, that it kind of needs. So I have found benefit in using that. All right. So we'll add that. I also do like to add some garlic to mine. You can use like raw garlic will add a nice like bite to it if you're into garlic. As you know, you already know that I'm into garlic, right? But if you prefer to cook it, that will definitely mellow out the garlic in it. So either way is completely fine. I've had it both ways, and yes, if you cook it, then it does have like a less garlicky flavor. If you like raw garlic, then, you know, if you've ever had something called gremolata, which is like a raw garlic, olive oil, lemon topping for certain meat dishes, then you are familiar with how raw garlic can taste, you know, in certain foods, okay? Or in certain meals, I should say. All right, so we've got our cream cheese. We have our garlic in there. And then we are going to go ahead and I do want to add a little bit of olive oil. Not much, just about a tablespoon of olive oil. And this adds a little bit of nice flavor to it. I love olive oil. And olive oil is so good for us that we should enjoy it. All right, so let me just plug this in over here. Okay. So here we go. Now the reason we are going to salt and pepper this bad boy. I'm not going to do it yet. I think that salt and pepper should be added like after you puree things. It probably is just something that's in my head, but that's just how I do it. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and give this a mash. There we go. So really, this just makes your mashing process go a little faster. You can absolutely do it the old-fashioned way. You can put it in a, you know, food processor, like I said, but the goal is to kind of get it as creamy as you can possibly get it. Okay. All right. Now, we are going to be putting this in the oven, but it really is just to kind of toast the top. That's all it's for. For intents and purposes, this is cooked. It's ready to eat. But I do enjoy putting it in the oven just to kind of crisp the top a little bit. So there we go. That's it. All right. So I'll show that to you now. I need a spatula. Okay, I love this spatula. My mom gave it to me. It says, "Bless the cook who serves laughter." And I think it's so cute. All right, so this is it. So you can see it's nice and creamy, just like a mashed potato. So now, while the cauliflower is still hot, we're going to add in a handful of spinach. So I don't, yeah, that's good. I don't like to puree mine because then it's going to turn, the whole thing is going to be green and it's going to look a little weird. But if you just put in a handful of the spinach in here, the warmth from the cauliflower, because baby spinach is so delicate, it'll just wilt right on its own, okay? So you can see here, I'm going to show it to you in a minute. I'm just giving it a nice mix here. And then we're going to season this guy. Okay. All right. So now you can see that it's just, you know, kind of like nice and blended in, right? So I think that if I was making this for Halloween, I might blend it so that the whole, or no, St. Patrick's Day, then I would blend it so that the whole thing turned green, right? All right. So let's give this a little season. Now, cauliflower really has no flavor. I mean, in my opinion. So you got to season this bad boy. You cannot like just, otherwise, it's going to be really, really bland. Okay, so a little salt and pepper, give that a mix. All right, how are we doing on time? Good. And then we're going to put this right in. You can also add in a little, well, we are going to top it with Parmesan cheese. If you wanted to like mix in some Parmesan cheese, you could, like a little bit. Again, that adds a little bit of flavor. I don't like to actually put too much, maybe just a little pinch. But the top, when you put the topping with the Parmesan cheese and then put it under the broiler, it actually has this nice crust that forms. It's really nice. So let's put this in here, just like this. And I'll give you another look. Right. This we don't need anymore. I drop some in here. There we go. Now just smooth this out. Just like that. All right. This is perfect. I can't wait to enjoy this later. Okay. And then just like maybe 2 tablespoons of your parm on top, just to give it like a little bit of a crust. This is like another, I wouldn't skip this step type of thing unless you're really adverse to Parmesan cheese. But that's it. All right. So I'll give you a nice look there if you guys can see that. Okay. So really easy, really simple. Like I said, it's for all intensive purposes, it's ready to go at this stage, but I would put it in the oven just to kind of crisp the top a little bit. So we're going to do that. Okay. So we do that. And in the meantime, we're going to take our eggplant out. All right. Oh, our little egg muffins look fantastic. So take this out, put this in. All right, here we go. So actually, I'm going to put a little bit closer. I wonder if, so I want you to be able to see this properly. Ooh, this looks yummy. Okay. Now it's not fully like done, but I think you can kind of appreciate where it is at this stage. So I'm going to show you both ways in the front camera and this camera, so that you can kind of just see the top a little bit. So at this point, what we would do is, this is like good enough to put under the, to remove the foil, sorry. And then at this phase, you would just put it back in the oven, because all we're really looking to do is just crisp up the top at this point, similar to an eggplant, to a lasagna, or if you were making a traditional eggplant parmesan. So I'm just gonna tilt it. Hopefully it doesn't slide out. No, it's in there. It's in there, okay? So you can see, it looks just like a traditional eggplant parm, but healthier and lighter, right, than our traditional guy that would normally be fried or have like a lot of breading in it. So this is, definitely a healthier version. Okay. So we'll put this back in and let's answer some questions while our eggs are finishing up, because they actually look really good. They probably only need another minute or two. Okay. And I know I have a huge mess here. Please don't judge me. Okay. So then, can you use Romano? Yes. Oh, for sure. Yeah, you could use a Romano. You could use like a Parm Romano. Sometimes the 2 of those are in there. Those would work really well. One time I used, instead of the grated Parm, instead of the grated Parm, I used like the shredded one, so it was like a little bit longer, and that was nice too. You can kind of play around with it. But I do like that kind of topping. I think it's nice. So then the final touch on the cauliflower is, I do like to top it with chives. So I've got the organic chives here. This is what my store had. Now these you definitely want to wash. Anytime you're working with herbs, and actually this is a question I get here and there is, when I buy the herbs in the package at the grocery store, do those need to be washed? Yes, they do need to be washed. So don't skip that step. Make sure that you are washing them. And then what we'll do with the chives, and if you don't have chives or you can't find chives, I've done green onion, love scallions. I've done just parsley, so something like that I think would be a nice addition, and that gives it a little festiveness on top. My personal favorite, I think, is the chives and the green onions. I think that works the best. So you can kind of play around and see, which one you enjoy more. So we'll put this in our little side dish here. Okay. So any questions, anything that you missed, we didn't go over, maybe I skipped, I always say I'm human, so sometimes I make mistakes, so don't be afraid to ask. Low the small packs to reduce weight. Yes, isn't that great? I know. Yeah, these The little small packages are wonderful. Yeah, so that really works well. So, you know, if you have leftover ricotta, you could easily make I normally finish my cooking classes with something sweet, but these dishes were a little bit more involved, so I didn't do that today. But what I used to do with ricotta was one of my favorite desserts was I would take some part skim ricotta. You can add in like a little non-nutritive sweetener like a stevia or an allulose or even regular sugar if you're into that, if you want to, or you don't have to. And then a little bit of lemon juice and some fresh berries, or you could add like some dark chocolate chips. It actually is a very nice, like kind of sweet treat that's also high in protein. Because remember, ricotta cheese is a good source of protein. So a quarter of a cup is already 6 grams of protein for ricotta. So you are getting a decent amount of protein in this product, okay? What is your opinion on vegan cheese and the fat content? Yeah, so, you know, the thing with vegan cheese is you can 100% use it. Vegan cheese doesn't melt. Well, most vegan cheese don't melt as nicely as cow's cheese does, right? Regular cheese. But there are some newer varieties or newer products on the market right now that are starting to melt nicer. And I personally have tried them and they're really quite good. For many of them, you can't even tell the difference. You know, if the vegan cheese, the fat content, because it's vegan, is going to be a lot lower in saturated fat than a traditional cow's milk cheese, you know, because cow's milk cheese, whole fat cheese, does contain a significant source of saturated fat, which is considered the negative or bad fat. So there is value in selecting lower fat cheese varieties to reduce that fat content and or going with a vegan cheese. So I don't know if that answers your question, but please let me know. Splenda works well with ricotta for sweet snack, top with a touch of cinnamon. What a fabulous idea. Yes, love that idea with the cinnamon. What if lactose intolerant? Can you still use ricotta or something else? Great question. So the deal with lactose is that typically harder cheeses have less lactose, where softer cheeses tend to have a higher content of lactose. So you may be more sensitive to like a ricotta or a cottage cheese versus something like a parm, which has a lower level of lactose because it's a harder cheese. So there are actually different levels of lactose depending on the type of cheese that you use. So if you are someone who's like, no, this is a no-go, I can't tolerate this, then you could substitute like a shredded Parmesan cheese in place of this and see if you're able to tolerate that a bit better. The other thing that you could do is, and this is personal preference, I'm not your doctor, but if you take like a digestive enzyme, like a lactase supplement, if you consume a dish like this, that may help ease those digestive issue, I guess, responses or symptoms, then that's kind of like a personal, I don't know if choice is not the right word. It's more of a personal choice based on how you respond to that. I think that's the best way to say it. Okay. All right. So let's get our eggs. They're probably burning by now. So let's check those out. Oh yeah. They totally are a little over, but that's okay. That's okay. We will cut them out. Not a big deal. So our eggs did go a little over. So what I would do is, well, this one looks amazing. Okay. So these came out good. These that were overstuffed definitely were a little overstuffed. So I would have to cut those out. But these little ones came out perfect. So with these little egg muffins, you do have to let them cool because they're just not going to pop out like a traditional muffin. So let these cool. They will retract a little bit. So you can already see that they're retracting a little bit. And then you have yourself a perfect breakfast. I think I can probably get this one out. Let me put this in a little plate for you. Okay. So this one, oh, they are really hot. I want you to be able to see it. Ah, there we go. Here's one. Here's another one. All right. Oh, hot potato. Okay. So here you go. Here are your little egg muffins. These are two of them. So you can see how sometimes like a little tomato is popping out. This one has a little bit more spinach, which makes it fun. So definitely let them cool because they will come down a little bit and they'll certainly be easier to eat, when they're cool, and they'll come out of the tin easier after they cool down. So you can keep these in the refrigerator for like 4 days or so. And then to reheat them, you're looking at like maybe 40 seconds in the microwave. Depending on your microwave, you may need to go up to a minute. That's also just kind of dependent on your, your own little machine and how it works. Here's another one. Now I'm like obsessed with taking them out, but I know I should wait. Well, I think you got the deal. I think you got the, I don't want, I'm going to end up ruining it. So anyway, so those are your little egg muffins. Okay. Now let's get the other dishes out. Set this one aside. Perfect. Oh, beautiful. Okay. So now with our cauliflower, the top is like nice and like almost like melty, with the cheese. And we really didn't put much Parmesan cheese on top. Just give you a little look there. Okay. So that smells delicious. So try not to skip the step of putting it back in the oven. It's literally like not even 5 minutes, just to kind of melt that top cheese and get it a little crispy. Okay. So everything. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad. I know we have literally like 1 minute, but hang on 1 second. I just want to portion it out for you so that you could see the inside. I just burned my finger. So you could see the inside. So you could see, there you go. You have your spinach, nice kind of intertwined in there. And it's really like creamy and soft and light. This is such a nice side dish for really, I like any situation, like any dinner, during the week. It's super easy. And it is make ahead, which is nice. Okay. Last one, you guys, and feel free to pop questions into the chat so that I can answer them. There we go. Now our eggplant's done. Ta-da! Okay. So the eggplant is bubbling. So let me see if I'm going to try. It's just, it will spill just because so you can, I don't know if you can kind of see it there. All right. But that's it. So everything in under an hour. So we've got our no fry eggplant parm. We've got our cauliflower mash. So let's do the nutrition. So the cauliflower mash, it was just the cauliflower, a little bit of Parmesan cheese and the spinach, and 1 tablespoon of reduced fat cream cheese. And so this made 4 servings, which is actually quite a bit. And that was 12 grams of carbohydrate, 8 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber. So that's a keeper. That is really perfect. And then, as you know, anytime you want to adjust your nutrition, let's say you were like, oh, I don't want to spend 12 carbs on that. Then you would divide that into, you could divide it, let's say instead of 4, you could maybe make like 6 servings out of it, right? Or you could make 8 servings out of it. So you can just reduce your portion size if you wanted to do that. With your eggplant parm. So the way I do this in my family is I cut this into 6 servings. So 1 down the middle, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is 23 grams of carbs, 16 grams of protein, 7 grams of fiber. And then our muffins, our breakfast BLT muffins, 1 muffin is 1 carb. Literally, it's like no carbs. It's 1 carb, 12 grams of protein, no fiber. And so it's basically all protein for all intensive purposes. Okay. So I will send these all to you, my friends. Thank you so much for your patience, for being here, for your questions. I truly, truly appreciate it. So if anyone has any questions, I'd love to answer them for you. Awesome. So you're so welcome. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Hopefully well, not hopefully, but our next cooking class for the year, because the year is over, will be like the middle of December, just before the holidays. I don't have a theme yet. So, feel free to send me an email, or respond to my recap email if you have like any ideas. I'm certainly open to them. Can you freeze the muffins? Actually, yes, that's a great question. Yes. In fact, I've had people freeze these. Anytime you use tomato, because it's a very watery veggie, it's actually a fruit, as my 6-year-old reminds me, you will get a little bit of like, wateriness around it, but technically, yeah, you can freeze them. Okay. Holiday treats. Yes. Good one. Yes, I'll be emailing you the recipes 100%.
Can you please do something healthy with sweet potatoes?
Ooh, sweet potatoes. Yeah. Okay. That's a good idea. Can add those in.
Thank you so much.
Sure. No problem. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for being here. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Thanksgiving, and we will see each other soon. Have a wonderful night. Take care. Bye.